The FBI again refused to hand over the unclassified record to the custody of the House Oversight Committee, and we will now initiate contempt of Congress hearings this Thursday. The investigation is not dead. This is only the beginning.
The contempt thing amuses me because I was on the Oversight Committee during the Trump administration when President Trump said he was not going to participate in any way with any legislative oversight activities at all, and ordered every federal department and division not to comply. So if we had, at that point, the director of any agency or the FBI or the Attorney General or anybody under the president coming over, delivering us documents and explaining the meaning of those documents to us, we would have had a Mardi Gras parade about that because we were completely shut out.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
I feel like it's been a wee bit too long since we had our Jamie Raskin fix, and today, well, we were spoiled as the Maryland Democrat, poised to run for Senate, took on Republican Chair James Comer in a kind of press conference off, where on the one hand we had Comer again running back the very credible sources and evidence that have proven to be as reliable as Lauren Boebert's time management skills.
Hey everyone, I am back in Colorado, but let's talk about DC. No excuses, I was ticked off they wouldn't let me do my job, so I didn't take the vote. Once again, Washington's power machine shoved a multi-trillion-dollar bill down our throats, refused to allow debate or amendments, disregarded everything we fought for in January to actually allow representatives to do their jobs, and instead, they served us up a crap sandwich. Call it a no-show protest, but I certainly let every one of my colleagues and the country know I was against this garbage of a bill and against bypassing the voice of each representative. Deals cut in the dark are why we're headed towards $36 trillion in debt, and I refuse to be a part of it.
They just closed it.
They closed it?
Yeah.
Versus Jamie Raskin, who simply goes off of facts. And when you piece them side by side, well, it's quite telling.
What I have to say about the ongoing investigation, did they say anything about the nature of it?
All I know is there's an ongoing investigation. They confirmed there's an ongoing investigation using this information. I assume that ongoing investigation is in Delaware. I don't know that, but I assume that.
Is it part of an ongoing investigation?
Comer said that it was part of an ongoing investigation, and that's what he learned.
Okay, but then I must have missed that because I've not heard that this is part of any ongoing investigation.
What is the ongoing?
The main reason they're not wanting to make this public is because they're concerned about the source, the highly credible, and I haven't read that in a lot of outlets, the highly credible source that's been with the Bureau since the Obama administration.
Yeah, there's a confidential human source that the FBI works with who has proven to be very credible, who reported a conversation with someone else. That confidential human source said that he had no way of knowing about the underlying veracity of the things that he was being told. And so it's not the source's information, it's the information that he reported from a conversation with someone else that he was not able to verify or authenticate, which is often the case. And that's why we're talking about secondhand hearsay here. And so it's not the source, the confidential human source who is the origin of the particular claim. That confidential human source is the person who reported that someone else was saying this, and that's why this task force was created, which examined it and then determined there was no reason to move up the chain of investigative procedures.
Not only of who's wasting time and taxpayer dollars peddling conspiracies to try and sway voters in 2024, but who's simply for the American people and who's not.
When I'm with my friends, Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, they'll say that, the problem with you, Raskin, is you're a liberal. And I say, you're damn right I'm a liberal because the heart of that word is liberty. And I'm a progressive because the heart of that word is progress. And if we're not making progress, what are we doing? But today, my favorite thing to call myself in the whole world is a conservative because I want to conserve the land, the air, the water, the climate system, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act. Everything that the nihilists want to tear down and destroy is everything that we're going to conserve for future generations. So I want to greet you not just as liberals and progressives, but as the true conservatives in America today, the people who are really conserving what is beautiful and what is imperishable, let us hope, in our land.
And Republicans' game plan, it's so obvious. So much so that they just blatantly admit it on Fox News now.
Right? And you're trying to get a look at this document. From what I understand, he says you're okay to come to the Bureau and look at it. Is that the case, and is that good enough for you?
Well, it's not good enough for me. We asked for the document a month ago. It's been subpoenaed. He ought to respond to a subpoena. We're doing the constitutional job of oversight. I have read that document. If he would read it, and it's an unclassified document, he admits it exists, and we aren't interested in whether or not the accusations against Vice President Biden are accurate or not. We're responsible for making sure the FBI does its job, and that's what we want to know.
Okay, Senator, let me stop you there. You just said you read the document, is that right?
Yes.
Then what did it say?
Well, I'm not going to characterize it. We're going to make it public when they get it delivered to us. But if he would read it, he would know that all the excuses that he's giving us, that he wants to protect sources, and that's important to protect sources, but that's not an issue with this document the way I read it, and he ought to come forth. They've got to produce this document. You know, they're up against what the Durham report has said about the shortcomings and the political bias of the FBI, and this is just one more example of them not being forthcoming to the public, because the public's business ought to be public, and there's no reason for an unclassified document to be held in secret.
Senator, how damning is this document to the sitting U.S. president?
Well, it's I don't know that, and that's what we need. But
you've read it.
Now, while their front runner for 2024 is bashing the keyboard and launching ketchup at the walls that are closing in on his own legal issues, they're trying desperately to taint Biden in this sham investigation.
I know the Republicans said that the smoking gun were these financial records that you were able to subpoena and got your hands on. They show that some of the president's relatives were paid more than $10 million from foreign sources between 2015 and 2017. And your party, the Republican investigators, say that that's proof of influence peddling by Hunter and James. But that's just your suggestion. You don't actually have any facts to that point. You've got some circumstantial evidence. And the other thing is, of all those names, the one person who didn't profit is there's no evidence that Joe Biden did anything illegally.
With everything from missing whistleblowers to just blatantly admitting to their purpose for this thing all along.
I didn't. That's all that I know.
Any indication that this document that you guys were briefed on today is part of an ongoing investigation?
What I know is that the FBI Department of Justice team under William Barr and Scott Brady in the Western District of Pennsylvania terminated the investigation. They said there were no grounds for further investigative steps, so they ended that. Now, in terms of another investigation, I can't speak to that. I have seen nothing about that, and other than published reports.
Today, though, I guess what we're asking this document in particular. Is it part of an ongoing investigation?
Comer said that it was part of an ongoing investigation, and that's what he learned today.
But then I must have missed that, because I've not heard that this is part of any ongoing investigation.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.